Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Tuesday night, free thinkers. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another edition of Free Thinkers. Today is Tuesday, April 12th, and I am currently trying to make this video private or public on my personal page. So bear with me. I should have done that before. I always forget to do that, but I realize if I don't go make the video public, comments don't appear. As we do every week, we'll just kind of explain really quickly how to find us if you'd like to join the conversation tonight. Over on the Facebook Free Thinkers group, there is a pinned post at the very top, and so that's got the link for tonight's conversation. I didn't do any fancy videos or songs or anything for this week's show, but I do have the StreamYard link pinned on the very top of Free Thinkers. And then, of course, you can follow us over on our YouTube channel. Once we create our stream for the day, then you have the option of getting a reminder so you don't forget that we're coming on live at 8:05 Central. So that's how you can find us, Facebook Free Thinkers page or the YouTube channel. If you want to get involved in the conversation and be on the panel tonight, then you need to click on the StreamYard link. It does change every week, and it'll bring you directly into the studio. If you are not interested in being in the conversation live, you can engage with us in the live chat feature, both on our YouTube channel and our videos that are on our pages right now. And those will show up in our comment section, so we will engage with you that way. And frequently, we'll pick apart your comments and we'll post them to the screen. So shout out to people who support us by way of commenting in the comment section, and of course those who engage with us live on the panel. I've almost got my page open up. My Wi-Fi is super slow in my room. I've almost got my page open up. There we go. Boom, it's public. So if you are commenting on my private page or Facebook Free Thinkers or the YouTube channel, all of those comments should pop up over on our live comment box. So adult conversations, adult language oftentimes is used. Totally up to you who you want to have listening to our conversation, but we do stress that we like to have adult topic conversations. This is a group of adults, and sometimes language is going to match that. Tonight we're going to talk about comedy and just kind of, I think, maybe our perspectives regarding just some of the things that are taking place in the comedy world. And probably going to be some language. So totally up to you. If you want your kids to hear, that's fine, but totally up to you. And of course, we always ask that you share this video, share these videos, like, love, share, like, love, invite people. We get great feedback every episode that we do. So we appreciate those of you who support us by sharing these videos. It allows a lot more people into our free thinker space, and we have some really dope conversations. We have a newbie over in the group right now, and she's like, I'm so glad that I found y'all. She's like, actual adults that aren't super sensitive, they don't get butthurt about everything, and people do get their feelings involved. Obviously, we're humans, but this is a free thinking group. We are not exclusive to anything. Just ask that you be free thinking and open minded. Tonight we didn't really have a heavily talked about topic, as we try to prepare ourselves a little bit on Tuesdays. But I wanted to talk about something that we talked about on Black Tea Talk this morning. I don't know if you ever got a chance. I don't think you were on this morning, were you? Did you?
I was listening in and out.
Okay. So you heard the conversation. All right. So we'll just go ahead and jump into it. It's 8:10. Q and I can do this thing. If anybody else chimes in, of course, you can certainly join us. So as we all know, a couple weeks ago at the Oscars, Will Smith, of course, walks up on stage and smacks Chris Rock. Some of us believe it was staged. Some of us do not believe it was staged. Some of us are Team Will. Some of us are not Team Will. We've already done a show about this, so feel free to join our YouTube channel and watch the episode about 2 weeks ago called The Slap. Because we really did give some good perspective.
So it was called The Slap?
It was called The Slap. The Slap, because that's what it was. It was The Slap. And so, watch that if you want to, hear us really break down our perspectives of why, we either did or did not support Will, or why we do or did not support Chris Rock, or just how we feel about that. So that took place. And obviously, a lot of these podcasts, a lot of shows that I myself have been involved with are certainly talking about this quite a bit. And of course, as that has taken place, things have come out in the news. They said this and they said this and so on and so forth. Then last week, or maybe it was over the weekend, there was a video put up on social media, and it's on the Facebook Free Thinkers page too. There's actually a few of us that have posted it. So I think right now there's 3 postings of pretty much the same video. So it doesn't matter which one you watch, it'll get you what you are looking for if you want to catch up with what we're about to talk about. So somewhere in Atlanta, there was a stand-up comedy show. I don't know if it was an improv or not, but nonetheless, comedians. And T.I., who is a rapper, has got his hand in the comedy game a little bit. Fine, whatever, right? Anybody can be a comedian. Doesn't mean you will make it, but everybody can be a comedian. Anybody can try. So there was a female comedian who was on stage, and she had made some comments referencing T.I.'s sexual assault allegations.
Do we know the actual comment that she made? I didn't actually hear the comment.
I did never hear the comment that she made. Everything that I've seen thus far has been where he has a problem with what she said. And I've, I haven't looked terribly hard. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but I've not seen what she actually said, other than she made some comments about him and his wife's previous allegations of sexual assault. Now, those allegations were dismissed. They were not found guilty of anything, evidence to not support what the allegations were. So, T.I. and Tiny get to walk away, with a clean slate per se, right? In the court of law, they were found not guilty. There wasn't enough information. So this lady, this comedian, uses something about that as a joke. And whether she knew that he was, found not guilty, or, charges were dismissed, or believes whether or not he should or shouldn't have been found guilty, we don't know. But she used their situation of the sexual assault allegations in a joke. T.I. took major offense to this. If you've seen the video, and it's interesting to me how people can say, oh, well, I saw the video, but. So he goes on stage. At first he starts heckling her, telling her to shut the fuck up, and what she can and can't say. He's in the stands, or he's on the ground, she's on the stage, and he's basically telling her to shut the fuck up, and it was found to be dismissed, and you can't talk about my family, and that's off limits. She's like, whatever. She's like, it's free game. This is comedy, anything can be used. And of course he is basically saying, you're essentially being slanderous at this point. You're repeating something, that's accusing me and my wife of, a heinous act, and it was found not to be true. Basically, stop talking about me. She said, no, this is comedy. Anything goes. She's small. She's not no big ass woman. He's not a huge man, but nonetheless, he's still a man. He proceeds to walk across the room, go up on stage, and you could tell initially she was kind of like, hold on, wait a minute. I think she was giving herself some space because she didn't know what to expect. You got this angry man coming up on stage, and he uses his body to basically put his arms around her, and he didn't hit her. He didn't jerk her on stage. He didn't shaken baby syndrome her on stage, but he used his body and his aggression and his intimidation to make her stop. And in the throes of him embracing her, we'll say embrace her because his arms are around her like a bear hug. She's pretty much stuck in his fucking grasp. She's still like, no, anything goes. Like, no, this is comedy. This is my stage. You can't do this. Eventually he stops, spaces put in between them. Words are still said. He eventually gets off stage, sits down, and it sounds like towards the end of the video, they had, they had love for each other. She's like, I love you, T.I. And he's like, I love you too. We need to have these conversations. Whoop. All right. So it got posted on Free Thinkers. I think Tiara tagged me that night, and I was like, holy shit. Like, whoa, this is not what I expected. And so since that's taken place, this morning on Black Tea Talk, Smack and I were talking about it, and he feels as though T.I. is justified in his actions because the content in which the girl was saying was not true. So she's lying on him. She's making things up. Okay, that could be a problem, no doubt. I have a problem with the fact that this man used his body to get on stage and make this woman stop. And so the conversation was, how is it any different than what Will did? Was it T.I. defending his wife like Will was defending his?
Well, he didn't slap her, first of all, but go ahead.
And that's what I was like, he didn't slap her, so it's not the same thing. She wasn't there, Tiny. I mean, who's to say if Tiny wasn't there? But she wouldn't have gone up on stage and handled that shit herself. So it wouldn't have even been the male versus female issue. But for me, it is the male versus female issue. So you've obviously seen the video. What was your first thoughts when you saw it? Like, did you think it was inappropriate or did you think it was warranted? Like, has your thoughts changed since you've seen the whole video? Like, versus the little snippets that people initially first gave out? Is this the same thing? This can't be the same thing.
So first, I will say for me, this is not a man-woman issue. It's not a gender issue. That's not the way I looked at it first. Mm-hmm. I look at my first thought was, sir, if you're going to step your foot in this industry, you need to learn the etiquette of this industry. You need to learn the rules of the game for this industry.
Right.
This is not the rap game.
That's what she said.
You are, and besides, okay, so you're a rap legend. You Hall of Fame rapper. You're one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
As a comedian, you are nobody.
Nobody.
You are at the bottom level.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to try to pull your rap weight in the comedy game, I think that's tacky, tasteless. I think it shows a lack of respect for what you're trying to do.
Right.
And that was my initial thought. That was my initial problem with it. Now, let me say this. I respect people. Then this kind of on a different level. I respect people who don't discriminate. So the same way he walked up on that girl, he also walked up on Floyd Mayweather too. He walked
over his wife.
That's what I'm saying. So see, so even with my argument about Will Smith, when you picking and choosing who you gonna try to be big and bad against, I can't respect that. Now, if you keep the same energy with everybody, man, woman, child, boy, 6'5" or 5'4", whatever, I can respect that because you stand on principles the same way. With that being said, I didn't like it at all from a comedian perspective.
Yeah.
And other comics will tell you, you don't walk up on somebody's stage when they, while they're in the process of doing it. If you have that much of a problem with it, then there's different avenues. You can try slander in a court of law if you want to. You could have took it back to your Instagram and addressed some situations in the right type of way without trying to intimidate somebody, or forget about intimidation, without stepping on the stage. Like comedians will tell you, this is my stage right now.
Mm-hmm.
Another comedian has no business stepping on my stage. I heard other comedians talk about it's disrespectful to heckle another comedian while they're performing. Now, with that being said, and then I'm almost done.
Because that's an interesting point too. Is that appropriate or not appropriate?
It's not appropriate, but this is the other thing. So then I had to say, with all of that being said, let me put myself in those shoes. We ain't just talking about no random jokes. We talking about rape.
Right.
So for someone to even, to make jokes or say it in an accusing type manner, and I don't believe that there should be lines when it comes to comedy. If it's funny, it's funny. If it's not, it's not. And it's public information. So it ain't like the girl just made it up out the sky.
Right.
This is what everybody's been saying. So
and that was one of the points that I used too.
But if I'm there at the actual place and you slandering right in front of me, if it was me, I would probably disrupt on that type of thing, because that's going beyond just a joke. You're attacking the soul fiber of my character.
Right.
Just like there's a lot of comedians, they talk about this often when people used to do those Mike Tyson jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Jamie Foxx and I think TK Kirkland, a couple comedians talked about Mike Tyson actually showed up to some of them comedy events. They like, oh, well, look, I ain't about to.
Not tonight.
You know, you got to make an executive decision. Oh, and this joke ain't coming out tonight. And he would, and it was a couple times he told him, no, go ahead, do the joke that I heard that people talk about you doing. So it could be, when somebody's actually there, you gotta, and it's, I guess the final thing I say, regardless of what it is, whether you're making a Mike Tyson joke, T.I. joke, in a comedy stage, you need to do it in a way that's funny.
Right.
And if that actual person that you're talking about is there, you better be saying something that they can laugh to also, or you might be able to expect some kickback. So, and just like, okay, let me say it like this. There's always an exception to the rule.
Right.
And I did not like what he did in any form or fashion. But if there's ever an exception to the rule to where I say I despise what you did, you making jokes and low-key calling me a rapist, that might be the exception to where I'm gonna have to stand up and say something and defend myself no matter what, especially if I'm sitting in the room.
Right.
Like, okay, so because then what's the difference? If I sit in the room and I let you say that, then what does that make me look like if I just
but in the comedy realm, couldn't he have taken a turn? Couldn't he have taken the mic if he was going to do some bullshit, right? Like, couldn't he have got on stage or took his moment and been like, no, what we not finna do? You know what I'm saying? Like, there was I don't think that it helped his case at all. I don't think that.
Yeah, I think he should have responded as a comedian. He's probably not seasoned enough.
I think I would have preferred him. I think I would have been okay with it more if he would have responded like a comedian instead of responding like they was on the fucking street and this girl wasn't up on the stage.
And then let her do that. And then so now you can use your clout. You T.I., whether you already did a set or you next to come up, they'll let you back on stage.
Right.
Hey, let me get 5 more minutes.
Right.
But I don't, so then you can address it.
Right.
You can clown her, you can roast her, you can go back you're in a comedy room. You can do it in a comedic way, but I don't know if he's seasoned enough to do anything like that. So,
and I think that you have to, because everything's going to go viral now. So you almost have to be picky and choosy,
right?
With how you respond, because if you just got a small snippet of that, all you see is this man going after this woman on stage.
Right.
Versus being able to watch the entire thing.
And I don't see T.I. the comedian in that instance.
Right.
Be a comedian. Like now you going back to try to use your clout as the rapper.
Yeah.
And now you trying to use your clout to intimidate her since you can't shut her up.
And he absolutely did intimidate her. And that's what I have the problem with. I don't have a problem with him wanting to get retribution and clear his name and
do it as a comedian.
That's what I'm saying. He had all the right to be able to defend himself. I have no issues with that. I take problem with the part of him going on that stage and using his body to basically cover her mouth and shut her up. Now, he did not physically put his hand over her mouth, but that's the argument that people are saying is, oh, well, he didn't hit her. Oh, well, he
pretty much did.
Oh, well, he didn't assault her.
He snatched the mic after he got done holding her. He snatched the mic from.
He used his body as a man to intimidate her, to shut her up. And you can't do that. You can't do that. And people say, well, you can't do what Will did. You're right. You can't fucking go on stage and go slap somebody. You're right. You can't. I'm not saying what he did was the right thing to do. I'm not saying there weren't better ways for him to have handled it. I understand why he did what he did, but that doesn't make it right. Just like it wouldn't have been any more right for Chris Rock to have slapped the shit out of him back. But we would have all understood if he did why he did it. You know what I'm saying?
That would have been justified. Absolutely.
I mean, again,
I can slap your ass back. I ain't even look.
So it's all about the
open
perspective.
game.
It's all about the perspective of how you handle disrespect.
He would have been absolutely okay slapping him back.
And he could have. And he could have. He totally, I mean, there was so many scenarios that could have taken place, just like with this whole T.I. thing. There was ways that he could have handled that. And maybe this was his first time being like outed like that. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe this is the first time that like it's happened in the comedy circuit. And he's like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm not trying to do this. But you cannot go physically, forcibly
because he got control issues. I get into that part later. His control, because I can give you many instances on. I'm like, he got control issues, but
so it's not helping this picture that's been painted of T.I. when he does shit like that. I mean, he was dead ass wrong, in my opinion, for going up on that stage and approaching that woman. I mean, and I don't want to use the word assault either, but I guess by definition of assault, if it meets the criteria for definition of assault, it is what it is.
I don't like that.
He definitely intimidated her. He certainly used his body to make her stop. And I think for that, he's a hoe. I really do. And I love T.I. I'm a huge fan of T.I. I've always been a fan of T.I., but that really
before we get to the bottom line, hold on, Kevin, what's your thoughts on this? We don't want to finalize it before you can say something.
No, like I understand there's like comedy and there's places for things. Like I understand she's doing her job, and but like it seems like everybody's attacking comedy now. Like, but what joke is too far? What joke is way too far? Like I'm confused by it. I really want to understand. I'm like trying to understand where people come from, because I see, Will's defending his wife. Okay, I see that, but he was doing his job though. And what if he didn't write that joke? What if somebody else wrote it for him and they gave it to him and was like, here, say these jokes? There's so many things that could be in play. So I'm like, but I feel like they should have never hit anybody. Like, there's no way of, no matter what anybody says, you should never hit anybody. Like I understand being disrespectful, like that somebody should get smacked and like being rude, but like I don't know, like there's other ways to handle or discuss situations. You know what I mean? Violence is not always the cure.
What you said is where I want to drop an anchor at. Let me know if you want to go different. If you want to explore this a little bit more, Nikki, but like what Kevin said, what joke is too far? I want to talk about that.
I mean, it feels like the comedy that we grew up with, there was no joke that was too far. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's because that's just the brand of comedy that we were all raised with. I think up until like right now, we all come from a comedic place where it was no holds barred. You could say whatever about whoever. You might look like an absolute asshole at the end of your set, but if you want to call somebody retarded, you go ahead. If you want to call somebody, and we could use the worst fucking words on here. People were called faggot their whole life. People have been called queers their whole life. People have been called, just been called so many things their whole life. Does it make it
in jail?
I know. Is it attractive? No. Is it appropriate? No. Are there other words that we could use? Sure. But different people like different shit about comedy. And, so I think comedy has always had the pass because comedy and music, it just is. And really probably not even music as much as comedy, because music has definitely been, far more scrutinized than comedians on stage. If you didn't like what the comedian said, you just didn't go listen to George Carlin.
Yeah. Hold on. Well, let me ask you this, Kevin. Is there any subject, think about it too, is there any subject or any topic that you would say that's out of bounds, we shouldn't talk about that?
Nah, not really. Like, to me, I just grew up around like really thinking like sticks and stones can hurt me, but words will never break me. You know what I mean? Like that. That's always been in my head. Like, you know what I mean?
But
like,
words do hurt. Words are hurtful.
I know. I understand.
His stand-up was called Sticks and Stones.
I know.
Understand for other people. I understand that for other people. And I'm like, it's hard to understand that. But like, to me, like really nothing. Like, talk about my mom. Okay, talk about me. Talk about anything you want. To me, I know me as a person, and I know the people around me, and I know whatever you're gonna say, I know it's not real because I know the real. Like,
Right.
So in your opinion, nothing is out of bounds.
yes, but also like think about it like this. Like Joe Rogan was talking about it, where the jesters back in the day were like, if they said something wrong about the king, they would get killed and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? So like comedy has changed from that time to now. Like you know, Will Smith over you. Who's richer, Will Smith or Chris Rock? You know what I mean? And Ti being over this girl, like, oh, I'm using my power over you because I'm, you know what I mean? Like, what? Why? What's the limits? Like, you know, are we not being able to freedom of speech? Like, we can't make fun of this. We can't. We make fun of Trump. They make fun of Trump so easily, and they want to make fun of Biden all this easily. They want to talk about his
Then
son
people
being
start
a
getting blocked for
crackhead.
that, though.
Yeah,
And
and
speaking
but I'm
of
just
Kevin,
saying,
hold on, Kevin. Let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
Speaking of, one of your posts just got fact checked.
It sure did.
I was so mad and disgusted.
Send
at
it
that.
to me.
I'm like, what the hell?
It sure did.
I was really mad about that. It was the one where they were talking about not the clone people, but they changed their face up and they I forgot what they was calling it. But anyway,
the CIA lady that would does
so they
makeup for
sent us
them.
some stuff talking about fact checking. This is incorrect, and I was so I was like, first of all, whether I believe it or not, who says something got to be fact in order for you to post to have an opinion?
Right.
Most of the stuff we do out here is opinions.
Right.
In Facebook land, most of the stuff is opinions. So how you come along talking about this is inaccurate? And how do you know if it's accurate or not? It's like,
and a lot of that stuff is not. A lot of that stuff is just their opinions, and they don't like what's being posted.
I was so disgusted when I saw that. I was.
You know how frequently my posts get fact check warnings, and it happens.
I don't see it often, but I got mad when I saw that. Really, I did.
But
I thought it was one of mine. I was like, oh, good, it wasn't me this time. It was somebody else.
But you go to a doctor, and when you normally go see a doctor, he'll tell you, like, you know, go see a second opinion of somebody's opinion, not fact, not real. It's their opinion. Like, why are we like? I don't know. We're so bent.
But I'm saying that's the example of that cancel culture
thing. Yeah,
that's the example of that cancel culture where they nope, you can't say this. You can't talk about this.
So in comedy, is stuff off limits? Because
that's my question to you, Nikki. So what, if anything, what's off limits?
Okay, so Pete Davidson I listened to it. He made a comment, or he made a joke. I don't know when he made this joke, but it was just like the joke was just released a couple weeks ago that he had made a joke, a stand-up of basically getting head from a baby because a baby has no teeth. And
that's pretty harsh.
So therein lies the conversation that we had on Free Thinkers about, was it okay for North to be sitting on his lap? And there was a few people who were like, oh, it's fine. This is her mom's boyfriend. And I'm like, hell fuck no. Never does a little girl need to be sitting on another man's lap who, one, just apparently met the family, but two, also made a joke about getting head from a baby. Now, does that make him a pedophile? Probably not. I don't
know. No, that doesn't make you a pedophile.
But it's a pretty distasteful joke. However,
it's a distasteful joke, but it don't make you a pedophile.
Liked it. Some people thought it was funny. Some people laughed at that shit. So I really, truly, even if I don't like the comedy, doesn't mean that I don't think it should be said. It just may not be comedy that I enjoy. But I don't think that anything is off limits when it comes to comedy.
That right there is coming close, though.
Yeah,
because not only that, because it's like as any body or group of people you make jokes about should either be able to laugh or be disgusted.
Right.
But even when you're talking like making jokes about a child, they ain't even at the point to do either. It's like, where does well, I mean, I don't know. That one is a little rough for me, but what I'll say is, so like Bill Maher said, one of the things, comedians consistently push the line.
Mm-hmm.
Part of their job is pushing the line. And in pushing the line, many times you will go over the line. Many times you will say things that's distasteful, but you still gotta push the line in order for it to be common. Because now you got you got comedians everywhere. So if you don't push the line, then where will new material come from?
Right.
So even with something like that, I don't think it's something that you can't say, but that one is rough for me. That one is rough.
Horrible, disgusting.
But to say he can, and I think this is the problem though.
Ain't nobody canceling him.
This is the problem though. Everybody peers in to things that they don't even have interest about. So I don't care for Pete Davidson. Is that his name? Davidson?
Yeah, Davidson.
So I don't watch his comedy.
Right.
So I don't listen to his stuff. And back in the day, just like you had Andrew Dice Clay and other vulgar, there was a lot of people like,
Howard Stern.
Plenty of people just didn't watch it. But he stayed successful because the people who did watch him continue to watch him and support him.
Right.
But it's all there's this constant thing to people who don't even participate in your comedy, in your entertainment. They always want to jump over in your circle, in your arena, come to your shows and tell you how much they're disgusted. And it's like, where did that come from? You're not even supposed to be here.
Right. It was like the Karens of comedy. They just come in there and just shit on your stuff. They don't even know what you say or what your comedy is.
That's just like, a bunch of atheists running up in churches all the time talking about how God ain't real. Why are you here?
Right.
If a Christian came to an atheist, why are you here?
Right.
This ain't even got nothing to do with you. Why? So that, I guess that's the thing that keeps propelling this cancel culture. You constantly have people who don't even participate. They don't listen to them. All they doing, they're offended by something you said, but they don't know anything about your material. They haven't followed you. They haven't helped your career along. None of this stuff. Anyway, that's my problem.
I mean, I feel like when all this stuff took place with Dave Chappelle and The Closer, all the backlash that he got for the transgender jokes, and the reality is he didn't really make transgender jokes. He spoke about his relationship with a transgender woman, his experience getting to know her, how they would roast each other, and subsequently had a relationship, a friendship with each other. But people just, he's talking about trans and Netflix is going to walk out.
Again, Nikki, that was the people who followed Dave Chappelle knew exactly what he was saying because they watched the whole show. They've been watching him they've been watching all of his stand-ups, so they know the type of heart he has. They knew his intentions, and they knew the context of that actual joke they were saying. People who don't watch him, they just, what did he say? They ain't listen to none of the rest of the
what happened though after it was said. The people, the people at Netflix, the employees who were wanting to walk, they were going to boycott the Closer episode, the Closer special. You had a transgender woman who was one of the most vile, racist mouth women on there, who was, advocating for this boycotting of Dave Chappelle. And so, I asked in the slap episode that we did, could this be a way for the powers that be to use manipulation, to use scare tactics, to use intimidation, to scare comedians, especially Black comedians, into shutting up? Because you can't tell somebody, oh, well, you can't talk about LGBTQ people. Well, yes, the fuck I can. I'm a comedian. Now, you don't have to like it, and you don't have to come to my comedy, and you can choose to boycott me and cancel me if you want to, but I can because I can. So you can't tell comedians that they can't do this, that, and the third. But is this a way for the powers that be to shut comedians up, to scare them into saying, oh, well, we can't talk about this. Oh, well, we can't poke fun of these. Oh, well, we can't talk about this issue in our own communities. Oh, we can't talk about these things because it's going to make somebody else mad. It's going to make somebody want to come slap me. It's going to make somebody come up on the stage and, physically, remove me from the stage, take the mic from my hand. I mean, because I legit have comedian friends who are fucking scared. They're like, they're nervous about getting back on stage, or they do so many shows, throughout the course of a week where they're like, it's bound to happen at some point. I'm going to piss somebody off. And now people feel like they have the right to just respond any way that they want to. So did this work? Is this scaring people into not saying certain things in comedy? Is comedy having to get a makeover to please, special populations? And the special populations, maybe a totally politically incorrect thing to say. But I just feel like people continuing to make these associations between like what Will and Chris happened and Jada and this T.I. situation and the Dave Chappelle and the transgender community and all these agendas that are running around. Like you said, Kevin, they're going after comedians right now. And there's got to be a reason for it. It's not just because somebody said something somebody didn't like. There's agendas behind everything.
Well, this is starting to be go ahead, Kevin. You go ahead.
Well, like, think about who else are they been trying to go after? Joe Rogan. Like, you think about how much power he has on changing people's perception about this whole COVID thing. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, we can't get to him directly. Let's get him indirectly and everything from around his sources. Let's take away his friends. Let's take away everybody else around him, and let's make him get where he doesn't have nothing. You know what I mean? But it's just difficult to see where people are coming from, because people are like, oh, defend your wife, but then they want to be like, comedies should be freedom and freedom of speech, and it's just so hard to narrow this way of life right now, because like you can't say this, can't talk about that. There's so many different things. It just complicates everything. What happened to being able to talk about things and then have discussions? Like, it's all right. You know what I mean? We got to solve it. We got to figure it out. But we're supposed to be in this together, because we're all going to end up the same place, dead. So why are we being so mad and frustrated with each other? It's just confusing to me. Sometimes I wish we knew what they were doing. Just be honest with us. Like, they can't plan out anything. So I don't know. That's my idea. That's my opinion.
Was comedy given such a bad look before all the LGBTQ jokes?
It ain't even, no, I'm telling you, it ain't about the jokes. It ain't about LGBT, none of that. It's us. It's people, it's society. We don't realize how much our voice has been pulled back and shut down.
True.
It's only relevant now, all what comedians can and can't say, because we've been silenced in so many ways of things that we can't say anymore. So now it's just become evident. But we didn't realize how much power we've already given away ourselves. But when you still have a couple of mediums that still speak freely, now it's like, oh my goodness, they said this. Oh my goodness. Yeah, everybody used to talk like that. Right. We just don't do it no more because it's not politically correct. And people don't even know why they do or don't say stuff. Well, you got to say it like this. You got to say it like, why? Why do you got to say it like that? Because that's just the way you have to do it now. It's unacceptable. From where? Like, I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying who's done the research on why it is or why it isn't acceptable. Nobody does the research. Everybody else just tells you can't do it. So you be like, oh, I guess we can't. And we follow blindly without asking the questions.
So do you feel like what's happened with social media and just like the constant, like being under a magnifying glass by everybody and their mama, and then these powers that be, like you saw what Elon Musk just bought into, like a majority of Twitter or something, like a significant portion of Twitter is now owned by Elon Musk. And that's going to give him the power to control what is or isn't disseminated throughout the Twitter sphere. So is everything that we say and do being constantly under a microscope with social media now, like just highlighting these things, because I just feel like this never would have happened like if we didn't have social media. Like, think about how many comedy shows our parents went to. You know, they went to the Raws, and they went to the Sam Kennistons, and they went to, you know, all of these comedians way back in the day when you paid your ticket and nobody even had a cell phone or a camera that you could take into the venue to even get a picture. Like, is it because so much now we have access to so much, things can be shared so much so quickly, that like there's this needing to feel like, well, if you say the wrong thing, we're going to yank you from this platform, or if you say the wrong thing, we're going to yank you from your ability to make money. If you say the wrong thing and, well, we don't like what you say, you know, we're going to cancel you. Like, did cancel culture exist before social media?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
But think about it. Like, they got rid of Trump on Twitter. How can Twitter get rid of the president? I just don't understand that part. That like what? Like, yes, he said bad things, like whatever, but he's the president. He should be able to communicate with his people, right? Everybody, right? The Americans. No, I don't know. I don't understand it. Like, that's one thing I don't understand. How they have that power to be able to do something like that.
Groupthink. Now,
Well,
with the
it's a private platform.
Social media has magnified the groupthink concept, and it's not just with what you say. Think about this. Yeah, y'all remember back in the day where even music was regional.
Yeah.
West Coast had its own type of sound.
Mm-hmm.
Midwest, East Coast, the South, Florida, they all had their types of sound, because people, you had to cater to the type of music that people liked in that region. But now, even with social media, you ain't gotta, you know, I can be in Texas, I ain't gotta make Texas music. I could just put my stuff online, and whoever like it, I can make music. So now we just have a mindset, because of the internet, we have a mindset of, we want to find ways that's appealing to the masses, not all. Like, we've gotten rid of the regional thing. Even clothing used to be regional at one point in time,
right?
And now everybody's wearing the same type of thing, because what you see online, you see, you know, and it's just all the same thing. So it took out the regional aspect of it, and now everybody's trying to please everybody, because that's the way people make the most money. That's a lot of your .comers and people who made online businesses. The way that the ones who made the most money was people who found a way to be appealing to everybody. And that's when this stuff comes and backfires on you. There's good things out of it, but this is the bad part out of it.
Ivory, have you been following our conversation much at all, talking about T.I. going on stage? Have you seen that video?
Yes, I've seen the video. And I was super annoyed for several reasons, right? It was her show. She was talking. From what she described before, you were being super disrespectful. And then the thing that bothered me the most was him feeling like he could touch her. That's something about that just...
That set me off too.
That set me over the top. Like, no matter what you feel like you can do, you feeling like you can put your hands on me. Yeah. So,
but you know, the argument was, oh, well, he didn't put his hands on her. And I'm like, he used his body to intimidate her. I have a problem with that.
If you reach out and hug me and you haven't asked for my permission and we're in a contentious situation,
right,
then you have physically entered my space wrong.
Right.
Like, to me, if we're in a contentious situation, you should be careful how close you get to me, period.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't even get close.
You don't even try to make your boyfriend or girlfriend hug you when they not in that space.
Because it's already a volatile situation, and I can take that as a threat. Maybe I don't know you're coming in for a hug. Maybe I think you're finna punch me.
She didn't. You could tell in her whole demeanor.
She had no
was like,
clue
hold up,
what was about to happen.
Yeah.
And then not only do you hug her, but you're still threatening her while you're hugging her, which
Mm-hmm.
is very problematic. So
Mm-hmm.
you didn't hug her to say, hey, we're going to clear this up later. Like, you can hear she's still actively arguing with you, but in a hug. And the only
Mm-hmm.
reason you're getting away with any of this with her, with the people there, is because you're T.I.
Mm-hmm.
So you've literally used your power as a celebrity to, yeah, like bully this girl.
To dominate that situation. Absolutely bullied her. I fully agree. Do you
Now the
go
other
ahead.
conversation we're just having about cancel culture and just comedy. It's funny, I've been listening to a lot of comedy today.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, some of this is so offensive. So like, but I mean, that's comedy, right? And like, so I'm like, if people can't, I was listening to some old Dave Chappelle. And I mean, he was saying like some of the like the most egregious things. So I was like, what about what he said lately would get him canceled? When he has said like some awful. I was
That's what
listening
I
to one of
said.
his
It's
comedy specials,
us.
and
It's not the
he was
comedians. It's
talking
us.
about how like dumb Elizabeth Smart was for like not getting away. That is an awful thing to say.
Like that baby was kidnapped and held hostage. Like, come on,
Kidnapped.
man.
And he's like, but you 15 years old. Like, why didn't you
Damn.
Like, he was going in on Liz. You know how he does. He's trying to make a
Yeah.
larger point.
Yeah.
And he makes a larger point by being very offensive first.
Right.
And so the larger point he was making was like sympathy for her. 15 didn't walk down the street back to her house, but they had just charged a 15-year-old little black boy with murder and sent him to jail for the rest of his life.
Mm.
And charged him as an adult. But that came later, right? But he said some
Mm-hmm.
super offensive things about Elizabeth Smart to make this point. And I was like, but if we don't allow comedians to do this in the way that they see fit, like, we're going to be missing some really good points. Me and Quentin were talking, I was like, comedians are observers. So they are always observing the world around them, how it works, and what, like, people meet them in real life and they're not actually very funny in real life because they're just so observant. They're like kind of just surveying their atmosphere. And we don't want them to start having to think about how they're going to tell us their observations. And if you hate the way their observations come out, don't listen to them.
Right.
But I was just thinking about that situation with Dave Chappelle, and I'm like, this is a horrible thing I'm listening to him say about Elizabeth Smart. But the way he brought it all around and kind of woke your brain up to the concept of age, and I wouldn't make him change it.
Right.
I don't know.
So is there anything in your opinion then that's off limits when it comes to comedy? Does comedy always get like the special pass?
Okay, so this is the same thing about music to me. And I think I might have posted it. It, like, the exact same point is what I think we should question what's mainstream always. Because what's mainstream is what people in power put their money behind.
Right. And that's dangerous.
That's dangerous. So if there's a racist comic out there, right, and they're just spewing hatred and racism, I do not think they should be like banned from going to a comedy club that wants them to be there. But if I start seeing them on TV, then I'm going to start asking questions. Why is this something you want pushed to mainstream?
Don't they? Let me ask a question. Don't they have like certain when people are doing political commercials? If they're backed by major people, don't they have to be listed who's backing them when they make statements?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you vote for me, I'm going to do this
made by the certain pack for so-and-so.
Right. I think that would be a good idea when it comes to comedians, musicians, podcasters.
Right. Let's start seeing who's really behind this stuff.
Who's backing you?
Mhm.
So
This,
to Nikki,
you know,
but to
this
your
such and
question,
such is being backed by the Koch brothers.
I don't think anything should be off limits, whereas a person gets censored for what they want to come out of their mouth. But I think we need to be very in tune with what money is behind and why.
Right. Right.
Somebody
Well,
said
that
that
was
about music. Like, if people want to make music about degrading women and killing each other, should they be censored for making that music? No. But we should ask, why is that mainstream?
Yep.
right.
What's the machine behind
Right.
them that's pushing that
Right.
agenda?
Why would a machine back that message? Not that the
Mhm.
message is being sung, but why do machines back this particular message? So
And
Mhm.
that's a very good point, because that's really been their bread and butter for the longest. They'll get you to look at the face of this artist or this
Mhm.
rapper,
Mhm.
but they never really display who's pushing that. And they you know, because they don't tell you that that same artist tried to make 5 or 6 positive songs, and it was like, no, that's not gonna fit for this album. You
Mhm.
got to take those off.
Mhm.
We need a couple more ratchet songs, and we're not going to put your album out until you do it in the way that we want you to.
See, and
That
this is
stuff got
where
to
I
be
think
exposed.
agenda is super dangerous. This is why I have an issue with like the bigger picture with all this stuff, not just what T.I. said or did, or what Will Smith did or didn't do, or what should or shouldn't have happened, or violence versus not violence. It's like so in regard to like Will Smith and Chris Rock. Again, I'm one of those that does believe that it was a staged event that may have gone wrong. So who created that? Who allowed that? Who wrote the joke? Who allowed, you know, and some people say, oh, okay, well, the joke wasn't that bad. Okay, that's fine. But who co-signed on concocting this ordeal to happen for us to then get our emotions involved in the ways in which we have? So the handlers are like the dangers. The handlers are the dangerous ones. You know, the pushing of the music and the things that are said. Like you said, Q, you could have wrote 5 or 6, you know, positive songs, but we want the ratchet shit. We want the shoot 'em, we want the bang bang, we want the dead, we want the drugs, we want the handlers are the dangerous ones. So I don't know. I can't help but feel like there's a way bigger issue with this whole comedians being kind of under attack right now. And I don't know if that's because comedies always had the pass to say whatever you want. Because music, you know, music does to a certain extent, but think about, you know, back in the day when they tried to you shut down, you know, West Coast gangster rap, you know, and pursue charges against West Coast gangster rappers, you know, for the content in which they were writing and rapping. You know, I don't know if anybody's successfully gone after comedians like that, but it seems as though comedians are definitely under attack right now. So I don't think it's not the pass anymore, but the handlers is the part that I had the issue with, because it makes me just feel like and think, what's the goal here? What is the bigger picture when it comes to going after freedom of speech? And maybe that is the issue,
Control.
freedom of speech.
Control is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
when the more groupthink is prevalent, the easier it is to control the masses.
You're right.
We get you
Damn.
funneled into watching one form of, so now we got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and forget the billions and billions of websites that there are
Right. Right.
on the internet. We got about 8 to 15 that everybody follow.
Dang. Literally.
And it's
Everybody.
easy at that point, it's easy to funnel information. So now that they have pretty much everyone on these same 8 to 15, which is really cut down to 5 when you think about how
Right.
many of them are actually owned by the same people.
Right.
Now we can control the information. Now we can start doing fact checking and say, nope, we don't want this on the platform. Nope, you got to say it like this. Nope, what you just said doesn't agree with our standards. Now we can get you to conform, because what else you can go back to Black Planet, ain't nobody on there. So what you gonna do?
Damn.
And it's always the illusion of choice. And they be like, well, no, we're not forcing you to do anything. You can do anything you want to. But the truth is, it's not really a choice. Once everything, and they throttle speeds, like for other websites. So a new up and coming website, and they do this probably about once a year, try to be a new website that come out to try to be the same as Facebook. They will throttle the speeds to make it slower. So once you try it out, you be like, that's too slow. I'm going back to Facebook.
Let me go back to Facebook.
Yeah.
They got what they wanted.
That's all they need.
Ooh, the control of information, the mass control of information is real dangerous.
Yeah, no, I was listening to, because I try to listen to different news stuff. So I don't know if it was Fox News or one of those type of news things. But they were saying they were trying to do like a more of a right-wing social network. But the people who own how it just gets streamed is a completely different thing that you have to outsource. So they had their complete setup, but the people who control how things get streamed decided, we're just not going to let your streams go through. So even you trying to create your own thing, if the powers that be decide, I mean, of course, I'm not right wing, so I mean, I didn't have any super sympathy for them, but it does make you think like that's for anybody though.
Right.
That wants to do something different. It doesn't just have to be them. It could be anybody. And that was going to be my other point. We have to be really careful about not caring when it's not something we don't.
Yes, you are correct. So you gotta, and that's why you gotta think bigger when it comes. You gotta see the threat from. That's why I encourage everyone to learn how to play chess. I keep saying this: learn how to play. It teaches your mind to think steps ahead. You can't just see the next. A good chess player is 5 to 6 moves ahead. They know your next 3 moves, and they already know their next 3. You gotta learn how to think ahead. Otherwise, you always gonna be playing catch up all the time.
Always.
Like y'all see the documentary Who Killed the Electric Car?
No.
Back in the go back and watch that. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, they already had they were already pulling out the electric cars. And the oil company, they bought the patent to the electric car and shelved it for the next 20 years until they were ready to come out with their own. That's where hybrids start coming in. Where it was kind of gas, kind of electric. Because they're like, we still need you to use our oil.
Right.
But
they monopolized the electric cars.
There's no need for a hybrid. You could have went completely electric.
Right. You didn't need a half and
30 years ago, you could have went completely electric. And they start doing them. Once they start coming out, I think GM, they bought the patent and they shelved it. And you never heard about the electric car until probably 8, 9, 10 years ago, where they start coming back out with stuff. And then, but they introduced it in a way that they could still profit off of it.
Damn, I didn't know that happened. I'm not remotely surprised that that's who bought the patent, but I had no idea that happened.
Go pull it up.
I was thinking too, I was raised to think it was like such a shame that they were taking prayer out of schools. And then I got older and I'm like, for sure, they should. And it's that same, you have to have that same mindset, like, okay, people who are in control right now might have some semblance of your belief sets, as a Christian. But that power can change at any time. Do I want someone telling my children what to pray and what to believe at a place that they have to be, like, as an
not to pray about, and tell them that they praying the wrong way when they pray for
some. And I'm like, I don't want that for my children. So why would I impose that on somebody else's children? Because that can swing back around. You got to think about stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't be praying at school. Pray at home, people.
And most of the people who in church don't agree with the other 5 denominations that's next to them. So the Baptist people don't agree with the Kojic and the Presbyterian and the Methodists and the Catholics. So why, it's just, you don't know how that information is going to be disseminated to your children.
Yeah. But you got to think not just about what benefits you, but
that's how they get you.
The concept of it in general. Is it right or is it wrong?
That's that whole 94 crack that crime bill. That's what they did. They got all them black people to jump on board with that because they like, well, we got to get the violence off the streets and these young people killing each other, and they allowed them to impose all of these
Three strikes,
super harsh laws. Crack is worse than cocaine. All of this stuff, and them old black people signed up for it.
Yep,
and backed it up. You got to know what you know, and that's why you got to pay attention. These politicians, they do that a lot. And they'll say, well, such and such voted against this law, this and this and that. He can't be. It's like, you don't know what was all in that bill. And a lot of times you talk to them in this 300-page bill where they tried to include about 27 other things along. This says the Love One Another bill. It's called Love One Another. Everybody's like, oh, we need to promote love. And then in the details behind the 300 pages, they try to include a whole bunch of other stuff. And you sitting up here thinking like, oh, well, what's wrong with that? The anti-discrimination bill.
Let me give you
and it's like anti-discrimination. Well, yeah, we should be against discrimination. You don't know what else they put in them bills. There's about 12, 15 other things that they try. And
they always slide some shit
all under the banner of.
They always slide something in there.
I do not like who is the guy? Rand Paul. He seems good and crazy to me, right?
Paul.
Yeah, Rand
That's
Paul.
The daddy.
They were doing some
he got a son, right?
You know Rand Paul.
He got a son, right?
No, he is.
I don't think so.
He is the son. Okay, his daddy was.
Rand Paul
okay, got you. Go
ahead. Rand Paul is Ron Paul's son?
Yes.
I mean, makes sense, but I didn't know that. Okay.
But they were doing like this like hate crime deal or something.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was like one of the only people that vote against it. And they were, they go on the campaign racist. That's
right.
Expected. But then when I heard him actually describe the reasons why he didn't do it, I'm like, well, that kind of makes sense. Not saying that he shouldn't have did it, but I'm just like, you got to keep open ears to like, because he was like, the way it's written, if we're already saying we have a problem with discrimination in this country, it's not written for certain groups. So how do we know it won't turn around and be used against the groups we're trying to protect? To give them longer mandatory sentences like our court system is already doing.
When they did that, it was one black woman. It was one black senator, representative, who Democrat who opposed against it. And they dogged her for all them years. And then they come back later and she was like, yeah, I saw what they were really trying to do on a crime bill.
I remember that.
And they dogged her for years and years and years. And then after all these years, when everybody saw what it really was, she was like, yeah, that's why I didn't go along with it. And she said it up front. She said it.
I watched that special. Wow. She said exactly what it was going to make it do. So I'm just like, but sometimes because people, we don't agree with everything a person says, we decide to dismiss everything they say, which is just not a good idea. So, and I'm getting better. I used to be really bad about it. I'm getting better at listening.
What you used to be bad about? Say it. What was you bad about?
Just being dismissive of people who didn't share my general worldview.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, well, speaking of comedy, Gilbert Gottfried died.
He did. Yep, today. It was like 67, I think they said.
Yep.
So so you have like this whole generation of comics who is literally dying out. So many of the greats have already died, whether it's from old age, drug use, whatever the case may be. You've got so many of like the old comics who are dying off, like I'm almost kind of like not looking forward to what the next generation of comedians is going to look and sound like, because I feel like they're coming into a space that does not make comedy safe for no holds barred, comedians. And that's going to totally change the face of comedy.
Push back.
Do what?
I think it'll be a pushback.
Pushback on what?
On where the direction is going now. I think, we kind of seen that with Dave Chappelle, where it's like he pushed back and people embraced him pushing back.
Yeah, but now they're coming back again. They figured see, Ivory, this is what they figured out. All right, here go the master devil manipulator people. They went for Dave Chappelle because he was the biggest name, and they realized it ain't working with him. Number one, people love him. Number two, he's not so connected to the industry that he relies on you to where you can control him that way. So they had to back off of Dave Chappelle. That don't mean they're not gonna try again. They're like, nah, okay, we can't go that route. We're gonna go another route. And they're gonna keep, they'll find their way in. It can't be through him. Usually they try to go after the biggest names, but it didn't work with him. But no, they're not gonna stop because that's whoever the powers that be. We gotta it's two of them. It's two left: comedy and music.
But I think music stopped getting a pass a long time ago, though.
How does it? They still just as ratchet and vile as ever.
But that goes back to the handlers' messages that they're trying to push, though, because that
sells money.
Say that again, Kevin. I didn't hear you.
I said that's their profit. That's where they make the most money out of sex, drugs, violence. That's where it's all made of. That's why DJ Vlad, whatever, he gets so much popularity. That's why his videos, and then Adam he makes so much money. It's because the violence. Everybody wants to be in that lifestyle.
I take that back, Kevin. They do have music. It's just they have control of music, but they allow us to say the most vile and disgusting things because it helps them perpetuate the stereotype that they've already created about us, number one. And it also allows us to perpetuate that violence against one another.
Yep.
So yeah, as long as it's us saying that crazy stuff, they all right with it.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, if you go back to some KRS-One or some positive knowledge type stuff you dropping, they don't let those people see the light of day. You got to stay underground. You're not getting major play. You're not getting they'll suppress your views and hits. Yeah, this person only got 25,000 views. It's like, that don't make sense. But,
no, damn well.
So yeah, you're right, Kevin. They have the music industry. It's the illusion of freedom of speech, but it's just selective, right? It's selective, just like violence is selective. You can a black man could kill another black man all day. All right, good. One dead, one gonna be in jail for the rest of his life. State gonna make money off of them. We win 3 ways. But you can't do that to no other race. And the moment other races start, we could talk about lean and drinking and smoking this and this and that. But when them white people get hooked on meth, nope, we got a problem. We got to do something about this. So the moment it gets out of the range of their comfort level of where they want you to be destructive, they make quick adjustments and changes.
And to be clear, white people make music about all kinds of stuff, violence, it would never be mainstream though. Nobody would put money behind it. So it's not that those things don't get made.
Right.
It's that money gets put behind those things.
Right. They put money behind us doing it. So thank you for that new revelation. Comedy is it. This is the last. Comedy is the last.
I think music got taken off the block. I think it's
music is gone. Yes.
Comedy is all there is left. So what do we tell people who don't like offensive comedy? Don't watch.
Yes, that's historically how it worked. What you didn't like, you didn't watch. That's the way comedy's supposed to work.
Yeah.
I'm going somewhere. I'm going to go to him. I'm going to go to her because he makes me laugh. She makes me laugh. That person don't make me laugh. I'm not going there. I'm not tuning into that. They're not funny to me.
Right.
That's the way it always worked.
And that's the way it should have been.
All these people have so many opinions about people they don't even like. I don't get it.
Right.
You don't like the comedian. How you got an opinion about him?
Why? It's like with more information and more connectivity comes more conversation, which the probability of you being offended is astronomical. So why not just be okay with, I'm going to watch something or see something and I'm going to feel offended sometimes. And
Right.
that does not mean I need to Karen all over a page.
Not
Or
okay to be offended anymore. Being offended is not okay. It's marshmallow society.
Because everybody has a platform now. Everybody has a place to speak on.
It is okay to be offended sometimes.
It's
Right.
soft. So soft.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I get it, because I've been in a position where oh my God, I can't believe it. That's so offensive. And I've gotten past that. Like, you cannot have meaningful conversations without being offended.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, we
I
got
don't
15
know.
minutes. We're done.
I'll just be curious to see how this plays out. You know, if I don't know. I just
play out the same way everything else played out.
I don't know. Is T.I. going to get backlash? Is he going to be, you know, then he got booed off stage, like immediately following in a show in New York. He got hella booed, you know? It's like, are you going to go and cuss out everybody at the theater because they booed you off the stage? Right. Or, you know, like maybe
now,
as he learns his etiquette.
I like his response to that. Because Michael Blackson asked him, how did it feel getting booed? He said, I loved it. He was like, you love you. He's like, no, I did love it. I loved it.
Damn.
He said, and I appreciate it. He said, anything that's too easy for me, I'll get bored with it. So, you know, just me getting booed, that just gave me more of a challenge. He said, I ain't never backed down from no challenge, and I appreciate it. So I'm good. He said, I enjoyed it. I don't know whether he believed that or not, but it was a good answer.
It sounded good.
Right.
Because he did not I don't think he handled himself well with that female comedian.
No, he didn't at all.
I don't think he handled himself well. I don't think that's the way that it should have been handled. I don't think that anybody has the right to go up on stage when you have a comedian doing their thing. Like,
you need to learn etiquette.
Straight up.
Because a lot of that booing, I don't know how good or not good he is, but a lot of that booing can come from the way people see you handling yourself.
And I wondered, like, did he get a bunch of extra heat in that show in New York because that shit that had just happened in Atlanta? You know,
there could be a whole lot of women and comics and people who appreciate comedy who was ready to boo you the moment you stepped on stage because of how you handled yourself.
Right. Yeah, he gonna have to thicken his skin, because I mean, some people said that it was wrong for her to use that to roast him, but we just all pretty much said anything's free game in the world of comedy.
You gotta come back as a comic.
Yeah, there's a better way to handle that, and I think that the way he went about it,
you gotta laugh them out the room. You can't try to see that, and that's weak.
Yeah,
because you tried to use something other than comedy to combat what you're saying.
Right. You
could have roasted her. You could have talked about her feet. You could have made up some. Martin was good. Martin just make up some stories about you.
Well, that's what somebody said. And they're like, no, it's not fair to lie on other people. You can't lie on people. And I'm like, comedians lie on people. What you think your mama
jokes was? Your mama jokes has been, they just made up jokes about people all the time.
Exactly. Or shit that came out in the news. Like, people use that information as public and they finna roast you. Like, no, like, it's all free game. But people are like, no, that's off limits, you know, because she was lying on him, so you can't use that. I just think that people are feeling hella sensitive because of the topic and subject matter.
Okay, let me even say
you can't pick and choose what you finna be pissed off about.
I'll say it like this: if T.I. was strictly a rapper or an entertainer, and somebody tried to make a rape joke about you while you sitting there, I could have understood a little bit more if he wanted to not get on stage, but stand up and heckle her or disrupt her or say something, whatever that is. I kind of get it. Rape is a pretty serious thing.
Right.
But my thing, like I said, to me, it wasn't about the man-woman thing so much as a comedian. You are now a comedian. Even in war, you need to operate by the rules of comedy war.
Right.
So you make jokes about people, you go in on them. Cat Williams went in. Him and Steve Harvey went back a few times. Like a lot of Michael Blackson went back but you got to do it in the realm of comedy.
Right.
Anything once you step outside of that's just like whatchamacallit, like people don't get respect. Like battle rappers. You know the ones who do the URL battle rap.
Mm-hmm.
They say everything under the sun. Everything.
Make all kind of shit up about your mama, your girl.
Everything. I mean, you just everything.
How much time you did in jail?
But your
what you did in jail.
all of that. Your clapback has to come back in
right.
bars.
Right.
The moment you get mad and push somebody and you hit them, and that's sucker stuff. Get them back with bars.
Comedy, right?
You know, look. Don't get mad because he killing you with the bars. Get your bars up.
Right. Right.
Don't sit there now. You trying to go fist. You ready to
now
fight.
You trying to go shoot him. Get that. This ain't even.
Just like that's like Mike Tyson. God, that I didn't like that after he bit Evander Holyfield ear, and then after they disqualified him and they took then he trying to rush up on Evander and trying to fight him, and all these people got to hold him back. I'm like, you was just in the ring with him for the last 2.5 rounds with your gloves on. You could have hit him then.
Speaking of the ear, did you see that he just made some edibles? They just made some ear nibble piece edibles. I think it was Mike Tyson just made ear edibles. I was like, oh my God. Like after all, 20 years later, he makes it. I'm like, so is Evander Holyfield supposed to get his panties in a wad and be all upset and sue him for making these little candies, or does he want his 10%? Shit.
Yeah, that's just a part of history. People love Mike Tyson now, so they good with it. But it was another guy who did that too. After he lost the fight, and they had a good long fight, he lost. The guy came in for a hug, and the dude just stole on him and jawed him.
Oh.
And they arrested him. Like,
no shit.
Oh yeah, they literally took him out the ring in handcuffs. He was like, no, they're like, that's assault.
Wow.
And, but it's like, you just fought him for you had the ability. If you had aggression, you should have did it then.
Right.
Don't turn around and be a punk later because now you're trying to do something when
now
the same rules don't apply. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like about that. Yeah.
I feel
you a comedian, keep it comedy.
And I agree with that. I still don't like the aspect of him.
Especially Nikki, if we've been arguing for the last hour that there's nothing out of bounds in comedy, you could have went at her any way you wanted to as a comic.
Orange hair. I mean, there was so many things he could have said.
As a comic, you could have went at her as hard and as long. You could have did your next stand up all about her. You could have just went after.
Sorry, he did what my dad always told us not to do. If it ain't true, shut your ass up. Because if you get to doing all this barking and hollering and whooping and whooping and whooping, you're making yourself look guilty. Like, so all that extra shit he did on stage and all that getting in her face and all that, like, again, I'm not saying that he did or he didn't do anything. I wasn't in the room with none of them. I don't give a damn what they said the evidence did or didn't support. But
it made them look guilty. But
yeah, you do crying about it.
Show a lack of control, and you show that you clearly have control issues. That don't speak well to
and you don't
your
have
ability to refrain from rejection.
Yeah, you definitely showed a side of T.I. that wasn't the T.I. and Tiny Family Hustle. Hee ha ha. Let's play with the kids in the white room. Like, no, we just saw you buck this chick, like in front of everybody. So now you do look a little suspect, T.I. Like, it's not a good look for you, man.
My mama taught me that lesson a long time ago.
What's that?
I was in school. I was like late for a class or something, and the teacher sent me down to the dean's office. Like, nah, you can't come in, too late. So I'm sitting in the office by myself, and there's a group of other kids who they were sitting in the office, but they was laughing, joking, being rowdy, blah 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 blah. So ultimately, by the time the vice principal came in, he suspended all of us for like a couple of days. I'm like, I don't know what I went home. Like, I got suspended. Like, what you get suspended for? I don't know. I was just late for one of my classes. They sent me down to the dean's office, and the vice principal suspended us. And then, and she was like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "I ain't do nothing." And I was like, and I was like, some of the other kids in there, they was kind of acting up and cutting up or whatever. And I'm one of these, like I said, I'm a chess player. I even play chess, but I pay attention. And not only am I a chess player, I'm a person who used to get whooped back in the day. I see whoopings coming from a mile away. So anytime I see, my sister was terrible at that. She just keep on pushing. But why we can't do this? Why we can't? Once she do it, I'm like, I'm getting out of here because it's about to somebody. Right. One of my parents about to explode. Out whoopings. And I just take off and leave. So even when I seen them doing that, I went and sat all the way on the other side of the corner because I'm like, I don't even want to be associated with that. So anyway, bottom line with that, my mama know when I'm telling the truth versus when I'm lying. She went back up to the school, and one of the secretaries sitting there was sitting up. She was saying, "Yeah, you guys were all being rowdy and disruptive, and this and this and that, and blah blah blah, and you were talking and you being disrespectful." And then I was like, "No, that wasn't me." And then she looked dead in my eyes. She's like, "Yeah, it was you too." I'm like, "How you?" I said, "I'm sitting over there in that corner. You can't even see." And I got upset because now she lying on me, and I'm sitting up about to explode. And my mom was like, "Come here for." And she took me outside. She was like, "Listen, you got to calm down. By you acting the way that you acting, you are
proving making
it. Yeah, you proving a point. You're making it look like you're unruly and you don't know how to behave."
Yep.
So she was like, "You doing exactly what they want you to do." And I
like, sound like some shit my dad would say.
I went back in there, I closed my mouth. And she said what she said. I went to the vice principal, and he listened to the secretary. "Well, yeah, you know, you guys were," and then he basically said, "The reason I suspended you because you guys were acting unruly with the secretary and this and this and that." And she said it was you. So maybe if maybe you didn't do as much as them, but you were talking too. And I'm like, this nigga don't know nothing. Don't know nothing about what I said.
Look, what would today's generation say? Let me see the security tape.
But I listened to my mama. I kept my mouth shut, and I was like, I ain't saying it. Me and mama, our body language, we can read it. She was like, "Well, I can tell from what he told me, he wasn't participating in that at all." And even when he went, he purposefully went and sat away from the rest of the kids outside and she just basically explained it in a way that I couldn't do because I was upset at the time and I hated being lied on. But ultimately, oh yeah, we can get you back in there. So they reversed it or whatever. But anyway, my whole point, the long story for that point is certain things that you do, if you act a certain way, then you actually endorsing their belief of how you are already. So I learned that early. It's like I can't even in certain like in that circumstance, that ain't the way to act.
Right.
Now you do make it someone on the outside be like, look at him. He can't even control himself. Who's to say he could control himself when the woman said no to him?
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe it, but you leave it open for interpretation when you act certain ways and you show that you're controlling and you gotta have your way all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same way a lot of, I would assume a lot of rapists are. They gotta have their way, they controlling, they this and this and that. Don't know how to take no for an answer.
Don't know how to take no for an answer.
So
yeah, I don't know. I just hope it doesn't continue, really and truly. I hope that we don't have to keep talking about, the parallels between
we are
bullshit, people going on stages and bum rushing, artists and stuff like that. Like we gotta figure out, like I said, and like somebody said in the comments, because I can't see who put it, don't fucking watch it then. If you don't like our show, don't listen. If you don't like certain comedians, don't watch. If you don't like certain music, don't listen. Don't watch it, don't listen. But comedy, I firmly believe comedy gets the free pass, and if you don't like it, don't listen to that particular comedian.
And you see already they're starting to go after podcasts too. That's where that Joe Rogan stuff. See, those are the last one. Podcasts ain't fully matured into what it's going to be,
right?
But it's getting there, and they're going to start coming for those too. And Joe Rogan was just an example of stay in line. We got to make sure we maintain levels of control.
He just told Spotify something basically like, if y'all don't get this shit in check, like you can keep your 200 million. I ain't doing this with these people. Right. Like, and honestly, that's the type of shit I love to see. Like Dave Chappelle said, leave that money on the bus. I'm out of here. Like, no. And what I do hope comes out of all this, like even something like what they say, Kanye pulled out of Coachella. and took Travis Scott with him. Cardi B basically was like, I'm not going to the Grammys, like, and she got major flack for not going to the Grammys, but she's like, I got kids at home, and honestly, right now, fuck these award shows, really and truly, and I think a lot of artists are, those are the upper echelon of their craft,
right?
But we don't need y'all. We don't need y'all, So I hope that we see a way.
They're already controlled so much. It's like they're pushing these entertainers to the limit to where.
And I hope that we see more of these entertainers taking their creativity back. I hope that more of them go independent and more of them get away from the powers that be and more of them create platforms and podcasts and whatever else needs to happen to really.
It's going to be a revolving door. So the ones who actually make enough money, they're gonna be like, I don't need this no more.
Right.
And then they're gonna go find another poor, broke person off the streets who are willing to do anything to get out the situation that they're in, and then that's how the door keeps revolving. In all honesty, that's really the reason why it's a myth that rappers and actors and musicians can't pop or they can't blow up after a certain age. I mean, Eve is just as fine as anybody else. Trina, all these older 35, 40-year-old women, they can rap just as good, and they just, they're just as talented and they're just as pleasing to the eye, as well as these. But the thing is, just like in the military, after a certain amount of time, it's too hard for us to control you. We can control these 18, catch them 16, 17, 18, up to 25, we can control you. It's easy to control. But then, if you try to get me to get a record deal at 40, at a record deal at 40, I'm looking at contracts from the jump.
Right.
What's this in the contract? Why y'all doing this? This don't make, and they don't want that. Just like military. You can't enter the military at a certain age because you can't be, it's too hard to get you to conform.
Right.
They need somebody who they can mold and manipulate early and young. That's all it is. So it'll be a revolving door. That's all.
There's always going to be those, but I still stand firm on controlling your dollar. And if we do so much more efforts regarding controlling our dollars, I do believe that one day, if enough people collectively control their dollars, we can flip some shit. We can turn some tables.
You can do some.
I do. I truly believe that.
Connected to the same machine that I was talking about.
And I know that, but I still feel like there's way more of us than there is of them. We just, like you said, we get in that group think.
It's not more free-minded people. No, it's not more free-minded people.
I don't know.
Not even a little bit.
You don't think so?
And you got to think about this too, Nikki, and then we can finish. The other thing about this, free-minded people are not as concerned about outside perception, and in order for, I don't need you to approve me, for me to think the way that I think, So if all y'all want to jump off that cliff, knock yourself out, go ahead, So my whole point with that is, even the free thinking people are not going to have this strong rally and push to convert the other blind people that just don't get it. We're gonna be like, look, y'all just gonna be blind.
Because we know that you not nowhere near where our journey has been. You know what I'm saying? You can't, like they said, everybody can't wake up overnight. And
but I'm saying you got
believe that.
For the people, you got to have the mindset to want to convert, to bring people to the promised land. A lot of people, most free thinking people, like, it's good if you do, but I don't feel this sworn obligation to if I see you trying, I can give you some more breadcrumbs. Outside of that, you keep doing you, I keep doing me.
I mean, because you can't change somebody any damn way. You can try to plant a seed.
That's why it's not. That's why you'll never see major change when it comes from free thinking to group minded people. Because the free thinkers don't care enough about the group minded people. It's like
we don't care about the group think people, but we do find the importance in truth and waking up and living in truth and knowing what the truth is. Like, the issue is people who are just fine with, living asleep. I mean, shit, you're the part of the problem, part of the solution. But I still feel like there's enough people who collectively have power by controlling dollar and what we do or do not subscribe to, that if we really, really, really cut some of the ties with convenience life that we have, we could control more.
I don't want to cut my convenience. I
know you don't. A lot of people
and I'm
don't.
getting old too. I ain't got enough time.
And that's how they get us. That's how they get their fucking hooks in us, is by making things so convenient.
I tried to change the world from about 18 to 35. And it's in a worse place than it is now. And I'm gonna live out the rest of my life being comfortable.
See, I mean, and I respect that. That's when we go on different directions.
So then I go to Jesus route, and people don't know about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, contrary to popular belief, while he was on this earth, he was not trying to change the minds of the masses. You look through the Bible consistently, he'd tell a parable. He wouldn't even say anything directly out, but he'd tell a parable and say, for he who hath an ear, let him hear. So he's basically like, I'm gonna put this out there. If you understand what I'm really saying behind this story, then it applies to you. For those of you who don't get it, then it just ain't for you.
Right.
And he didn't try to go further. He didn't go out of his way to try to make people understand. He's like, hey, if you got an ear, if you understand what's really being said behind the story, then you got it. Maybe you get to the next phase. If not, keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing what you're doing.
I think that Jesus, that's, so some Christians have a different mindset. They feel the Great Commission where they got to go out and do. So, I follow Jesus, but I follow different. There's other principles about what Jesus said that I follow. It ain't for everybody.
No,
everybody ain't going to get it. So I ain't trying to make everybody.
It's not for everybody. That's not.
All right,
so for those of y'all that are watching us, we need some topics, man. I posted something on my page today. Look, Q and I have been doing Free Thinkers for 5 years. We were part of another group for I don't know how long y'all had Meeting in the Minds, 5, 6, 7 years, and a host of other shows that we need some topic ideas. We can talk about the same thing all the day, but we want to know what y'all want us to talk about. So
yeah, because we can talk about everything under the sun.
We did, and again, we'll talk about it again. It's always a new conversation, but give us some fresh ideas. Give us some topics. It does not have to be hot topics. It doesn't have to always be issues of race or religion, but it can be all of those things. Like, just give us some shit that you want to see Free Thinkers talk about, and we will talk about it. Please make sure that
also keep posting on the page, because a lot of our conversations come from the post on the page. So,
and we've got a lot of great conversations happening right now on the page, and I think you'll see a lot more diverse conversations on the page than you may even hear us talk about on Tuesday nights, because there's a lot of stuff that never makes it to a Tuesday night conversation. That we have some really good conversations on the page. So join us on Tuesdays. Give us some topic ideas. Share. Join us over on our YouTube channel. Subscribe over there. Follow us on our Facebook channel. And we'll be back next Tuesday night, man, with something else interesting to talk about. So hopefully you'll join us. And thanks for supporting us and watching us tonight. We'll see you guys next week.
Good night.
Good night.